There's a couple brand new Nintendo Switch stories that just dropped today that we got to talk about, starting with Star Wars Hunters and our first look at the gameplay for this 2022 Switch title, as that was revealed to us today. Then the big talking point for today's video is the Game Awards 2021 and the reason why Nintendo fans are starting to get decently hyped for this show, as it will take place this Thursday. And I want to break down Nintendo's history at this showcase over the years and the reason why we maybe can expect one or two major announcements when it comes to Nintendo Switch games at the Game Awards 2021. What's up, Nation? If it's your first time on the channel, make sure you join Sunbro Nation by subscribing below, hit the like button on this video if you enjoy it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. Now, as I mentioned, guys, we're just covering a couple stories today, but both of which are pretty notable, and I want to kick it off with none other than the gameplay reveal trailer that just dropped for Star Wars Hunters, which of course is a 2022 Nintendo Switch title that will also be coming to mobile. But to my knowledge, and actually I believe at the end of this trailer, it does show that it'll just be on mobile platforms, meaning of course Android and iOS and Nintendo Switch in 2022. And this is actually developed by the studio Zynga, who you guys may remember because Bloomberg actually had like a whole article write up on them stating that maybe they had some kind of, or in fact that they did have a 4K ready dev kit for the Nintendo Switch. And of course they went on record and said that they didn't, but what else would you do if you do have something that's under an NDA? Like, you have to pretty much deny it. So who knows what's going on with all that, but that's not what we're talking about today. What we are talking about is the fact that this mobile developer Zynga is bringing a big title to the Nintendo Switch for the first time, and up to this point we had only had really like a graphic that said Star Wars Hunters was coming in 2022 with a little, hype buildup with a little bit of music, but no real look at the gameplay. Well, now of course we do have the actual gameplay style for this game, and they go out of their way towards the end of the trailer to say 4v4 battles, and I don't know if that's actually all that's supported in this, or if there will be, more like battle royale style as well, kind of what you see with games like Fortnite and Warzone and of course all your big shooters. But this is a third person type of shooter, which I guess you can't just label it a shooter because you technically can play in third person with like your lightsaber as well. To me, when I watched this gameplay footage, it kind of reminded me of some kind of a mix between like what Fortnite gameplay looks like, but with a Star Wars Battlefield style skin over it. So I don't know, how hyped I am for this game. The gameplay definitely looks fun and exciting. I just typically do not get into these battle royale or 4v4 even style shooting games, although a lightsaber will kind of entice me to sometimes play. But when the whole thing is based around multiplayer and there's not really a story element, I don't always end up picking up these titles. But from my understanding, this one will be free to play, and of course they actually advertise that there will be in-game purchases, as you typically see with how the developers end up making money on these projects, is of course with things like upgrades and skins that you can put on your characters, and maybe new characters locked behind paywalls altogether. Like, we don't really know the entire scope of this game at this point, but it does look like it will be at least one to hop into and check out when it does release in 2022. And we still don't have a window on the game either. I'm assuming it's going to be a middle to late 2022 title, with them not saying something like spring or early 2022 at the end of the trailer. But I would love to hear from you guys in the comments down below what your actual initial impressions are of this now that we do have the footage and see what kind of game it really is and what kind of gameplay it has to offer. And I would love to hear from you if you do enjoy games like these, and if it reminds you of any other titles, besides Star Wars Battlefield, which it kind of reminds me of, or something like a Fortnite game, which maybe I shouldn't even be comparing it to Fortnite, because to be fair, I've never played it before, so I don't know exactly what's going on with that whole world. I just know that it's like a gaming craze, and certain games that are battle royale style or that look like they're battle royale style kind of remind me of that. But again, this isn't one that is at the height of my hype levels for me, but since it is free to play and it's Star Wars themed, I will be excited to at least download it on the Nintendo Switch when it does release in 2022. So make sure you share all your thoughts on all things Star Wars Hunters in the comments down below. Now, the next story we're talking about today is the Game Awards 2021, and the reason why Nintendo fans are starting to get reasonably hyped, which of course, nothing is guaranteed, and I want to make that clear at the start of this conversation, but I do want to talk about the reason that there could be some rather big reveals, and specifically, I am betting on Nintendo to at least have a sizable presence at this show. We normally don't get anything more than one or two big announcements, so I'm kind of capping my expectations there for Nintendo titles, but I do think that they will be present here. Of course, Metroid Dread is nominated for Game of the Year, and while we don't know that that will win Game of the Year, I certainly hope it will. And just a quick side thing to mention before we do hop into this topic, you can go vote for the Player's Choice version award on Best Game over at the Game Awards website right now, and I think it closes this evening, so relatively soon, probably by the time this video goes up, but I'll still leave it linked in the description down below in case you guys are interested in voting. And my vote absolutely will be for Metroid Dread, as truly in 2021 that was my favorite gaming experience bar none. But with that though, I do want to kick off this conversation by actually reading through some direct quotes from Mr. Jeff Keighley himself in a recent interview that has a lot of people talking about it online, as he is claiming for at least 4 or 5 like game breaking major level reveals. And I do want to talk through like why I personally believe 1 or 2 of those could be a Nintendo announcement, especially with all of the rumors and leaks that we have floating around online suggesting that we will get some kind of Nintendo presence at the show. But besides that, I then want to hop through the history of what Nintendo has done at the Game Awards over the years, because I've even seen people comment it in the comment sections down below here on the channel that, you know, Nintendo doesn't do reveals at the Game Awards, Nintendo doesn't participate at the Game Awards. Like, there's definitely a clear lack of understanding of what Nintendo typically does over the years at this major showcase event for all of gaming. So I want to set the record straight with that. But to kick this off, let's quickly read through the recent interview where Jeff Keighley was actually being asked about his Elden Ring reveal trailer at Summer Games Fest, which of course almost broke the internet because a lot of the Dark Souls fans out there, myself included, were waiting for almost 2 years for any kind of information on this game. And then we got the big gameplay reveal trailer and even the launch date of the titles. So that's what this interview was partially structured around, was how Keighley was able to pull that off for his own Summer Games Fest. And then of course the reason why we should maybe expect some major announcements that he of course can't reveal to us yet to be at this year's showcase. So he's quoted here saying, when asking about Elden Ring, that was 2 or 3 years in the making. Keighley says every show got questions about it, and even last year's Game Awards people really wanted something. It won most anticipated game, but they weren't ready. There was a lot of build-up pressure, and that's the thing I think people don't realize. The things they want, sometimes developers just aren't ready to show them. There will be things this year, I'm sure, where it's like we want to show things but they're just not ready. I was very happy because the trailer was great. It was a great asset, a highly anticipated game that really delivered. There were a lot of things that were good about it, so yes, I was uniquely excited to be able to bring that to people. This year, oh god, there are probably 4 or 5 things at that level. I can't wait to show people this stuff. Summer Games Fest was a new thing that I had created. The fact that From Software bet on me and Summer Games Fest, where they could have done more traditional E3 stuff, that means a lot to me. It was a huge honor to work with the From guys, so stay tuned, there may be more coming. Now you may say after reading that obviously that doesn't mean that anything Nintendo will actually be featured at this event, and while I would agree with you in that statement, and again keep your hype levels at a medium expectation here because we don't have concrete info that there will be some kind of new gameplay reveal trailer for something like Breath of the Wild 2 or all the different possibilities that we will talk through here in a minute, I then want to transition over to kind of talk about the history of what Nintendo has done at the Game Awards so far, because as I mentioned, there are some Nintendo fans that are under the impression that there's never anything new for Nintendo games at the Game Awards, and that we only see announcements like that set aside for their own Nintendo Directs. So to quickly walk you guys through a brief history, at 2014 in the Game Awards, not only did we get a full orchestra that of course would actually perform Legend of Zelda music during the event, we also got the first gameplay look ever at Breath of the Wild. And of course that was back whenever it was still maybe being developed for just the Wii U. We then later learned that it would launch on the Wii U and the Switch, or of course at that time the NX, but the first glimpse that we ever got of gameplay was at the Game Awards. Then in 2015, it was of course a sad year for Nintendo, as longtime president of the company Mr. Satoru Iwata sadly passed away that year in 2015, but of course Nintendo did acknowledge him with a nice tribute video package of his legacy that of course he helped leave behind for Nintendo as a whole. And then in 2016 we got more Breath of the Wild information and even had a treehouse portion like what we typically see Nintendo do at E3 as a collaboration with the Game Awards. In 2017 we had another Breath of the Wild announcement, and of course it did win Game of the Year that year, and they actually also revealed the Champions Ballad DLC that of course would come to Breath of the Wild. In addition to that, we saw an announcement of Bayonetta 1 and 2 for the Nintendo Switch at the Game Awards 2017. Then in 2018, we had a Smash Bros. Ultimate reveal of the Joker being added into the game as a DLC fighter, of course. 2019 was really a miss from Nintendo in terms of like new announcements, but of course they did still have their games featured in the awards and things. And then 2020 was the, of course, very iconic trailer of Mario getting almost stabbed to death by Sephiroth, or at least that's what it looked like until it revealed, of course, that it went through the overall. But my point in reading through all of that history is that obviously over the years, Nintendo knows there are a ton of mainstream eyes on the Game Awards, and they like to have a presence at this event, and I do think that this year will be no different. Now, to cover some of the games that we may potentially see revealed, I think number one on the list, and especially just with the history of this franchise and Game Awards in general, would be Breath of the Wild 2, or the sequel to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, whatever you want to call it. And hopefully, if everything goes well, maybe we actually get that title reveal so we can actually start calling the game what it will be marketed as. And we still know that Nintendo, as of currently, is planning on releasing this game in 2022. That said, Zelda games are notorious for delays, and they will definitely take the time they need to get the game 100% complete. But if they do think they're going to launch it as soon as next year, I do not think it's out of the question for us to get something like a title reveal, maybe, you know, even referencing what's really going on with the game. And all the fan theories and speculation will ramp up, of course, because we have previously been told that whatever this title is actually references what's going on in the story of the game, and that's the reason that Nintendo didn't want to reveal it too early on. So will we get that? It is definitely a possibility. We also have a lot of leakers and rumors floating around out there that Zelda's 35th anniversary will make an appearance at this event. It has then since been claimed that it's less likely something like a game combo pack like I would personally hope to see, which is a surprise announcement of Wind Waker and Twilight Princess being announced as part of the final send-off for Zelda's 35th. Like, it's probably not that, so let's not get our expectations too high, but it could be. And then there's, of course, you know, more likely the situation of it just being some kind of concert that acknowledges the 35 years, of course, that Zelda has been out there on the market to gamers, and kind of a retrospective of overall the years while some orchestra plays classical Zelda tunes, which is like kind of what I'm more expecting to take place for the 35th anniversary personally. But then we even have things that could come out of left field, such as a Metroid Prime 4 gameplay reveal, which of course we have not seen anything of since Nintendo came out and announced that they were restarting development on that title in 2019, and obviously fans are itching to see any kind of glimpse of what we can expect from this world and the gameplay, and something like the Game Awards could be a perfect place to do it. Or you could have the other fact that we are expecting, and the heavily rumored and actually backed up by numerous insiders who get things right time and time again as far as unannounced Nintendo plans, claiming that Retro Studios is indeed working on Metroid Prime 1 remake and will be sold as a standalone title, and maybe we just get a surprise reveal trailer of something like that alongside of a early 2022 launch window, and Metroid fans can be super surprised and walk away super happy at that event, as of course, as I mentioned, Metroid Dread is in the running for Game of the Year at this show, so that might be fitting. We also haven't seen anything in the announcement of a new Mario title in quite some time, like obviously Odyssey 2 or whatever they're going to do. My personal hope would be Galaxy 3, but I don't necessarily think that will happen. Could be announced at this event. You also have the heavily rumored Donkey Kong game that's out there that's supposedly in development right now, that's either 2.5D or 3D. There's also a lot of talk around Monster Hunter potentially having new collaborations that could be announced at this event, which obviously wouldn't be as big of a shock announcement, but I still think it's very likely to be featured there, as that has really become a big fan hit, and Capcom is doing a good job of keeping it relevant through the time as we build into, of course, the Sunbreak DLC that will be coming out the middle of next year. And then, of course, a more detailed gameplay trailer of something like Bayonetta 3 could show up, although I think that that's less likely considering that we just got the official gameplay reveal for that back in September at Nintendo's Direct event. So it's all up for debate and speculation right now what we will ultimately see as Nintendo fans from this Game Awards event, but I do at least want to encourage you all to, on Thursday, tune in and watch, and don't go into it with thinking that we're going to get this blowout Nintendo Direct style of announcements, but do go into it with the hope that maybe we will see see something Zelda related, I still am hedging my bets most likely on a Breath of the Wild 2 something, whether that be a new trailer, the title reveal, both. Like, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. But again, if we don't get anything major from Nintendo and it's just more them being present for the award side of things, then don't be super let down and like your hopes and dreams are crushed. But I do think that there is a reasonable expectation to have as a Nintendo fan to at least tune into this event and see what we have in the way of reveals. As I mentioned, Nintendo has a long-term history at this showcase, and there is now more eyeballs on it than ever, as last year they broke all-time records and hit over 80 million viewers, which is like crazy mainstream. Like, obviously that is way higher of a number than what Nintendo gets on their average Nintendo Direct that gets uploaded through their YouTube channel. So this is going to be an exciting event for gaming. It's definitely not going to be all Nintendo. A lot of the show won't be Nintendo, but I personally am going into this with reasonable expectations that we will get some very nice announcements. And guys, at this point in the video, I want to hear from you on all of your personal thoughts and predictions on what you think we will see in terms of Nintendo's showcase at the Game Awards 2021, and what your personal hype level is going into it, and whether or not you think we will get some big reveals for them, or if you really do think that it will just be small mentions and announcements and nothing really too ground shattering for us Nintendo fans. So I do look forward to hearing from all of you guys on all your thoughts and feelings around all the things Game Awards 2021 in the comments down below, as I do look forward to getting a back and forth conversation started with you all around these topics. Thanks so much for watching the video today, everyone. I do truly appreciate you all sticking around until the end. I do at this point in the video want to invite you all one more time to join Sunbro Nation if you haven't done so already. Do so by subscribing below, hit the like button on your way out if you enjoyed it today, and make sure you turn on your bell notification icon so you're kept up to date with all the newest gaming news. That's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you all have a great day. Sunbro Nation, out.